In 2007, 15-year-old Carly Ryan had a boyfriend. An internet boyfriend that she had never met. An internet boyfriend that she had never met that didn't actually exist. Carly was catfished by a much older online predator, and he tricked her into leaving the safety of her home, where he killed her. But Carly's death is now saving lives. Welcome to 10-Minute Murder, brief and bingeable true crime. I'm Joe, the host, and thank you for joining today. And I know you're excited, at least I hope you're excited about the podcast today. Like your mom gave you $20 to go nuts at the Scholastic Book Fair. Almost that excited. That's how I hope you are. So I'll get to the story in just a moment, but first, be sure that you are subscribed if you are a new listener to 10-Minute Murder. Connect with me on social media to see the visuals that go along with the episodes. Nothing gross and nothing graphic, but I post it all there on social media. I've been in touch with the government, just to let you know, and they said that if you show the clerk that you're following this podcast on Facebook and Instagram, they'll give you a big discount on gas. Now, that last part may not be true, but it's worth a shot. Okay, now to today's story. In January 2007, 15-year-old Carly Ryan was expecting a very special guest to arrive at her birthday party in Melbourne, Australia. It was the father of her boyfriend, Brandon Kane, who was a 19-year-old musician from Texas who had recently moved to the country with his family. Carly was beyond excited. At this point, she and Brandon had been an official couple for months, but there was just one thing that made them maybe a little bit different than most young couples. Carly and Brandon had never actually met in person. They'd met through websites like MySpace, back when that was a thing, and another site called vampirefreaks.com. I don't know, I never heard of that, but they also talked there. They'd been talking for months before eventually becoming an official boyfriend and girlfriend. Carly's mother, Sonia, was keeping an eye on her daughter's online activity. She would check in every now and again and just take a quick look at their conversations, especially because Carly had told her that she thought she was in love with Brandon. Now look, we've all been 15 before, so we know how fickle these relationships can be. One moment you're in love and declare that nothing can separate the two of you. Then at lunch you eat a Crunchwrap Supreme and it doesn't quite sit right on your stomach. It puts you in an irritable mood, and now you're questioning everything. They don't really care about me. Why am I wasting my life with someone that doesn't understand me? So, pretty typical early teen love, but you don't understand it at the time. But Brandon seemed pretty legit. Sonia would see him on his webcam where he was typing his messages back and forth with Carly, and he seemed to be genuinely interested in her daughter. So Sonia agreed to let his father come to Carly's 15th birthday party where the parents could kind of get a feel for each other and see if they'd allow their kids to meet up in real life. And that sounds weird to me, but I get it, I guess. Sonia was trying to look out for Carly with her, quote, boyfriend, just to make sure that she was safe with him. So that day, Brandon's 50-year-old father, Shane Kane, showed up at Carly's house. They all went shopping together before the party, and then later on, Shane took Carly into her room. He sat her down on the bed and gave her birthday presents. He'd bought her lingerie and a nurse's outfit, and then he tried to seduce Carly. Carly rejected him. After all, she was in love with Brandon, not Shane, but Shane got embarrassed and angry. He started lashing out and acting erratically. And when Sonia saw his behavior, she kicked him out immediately. It took Carly a little while to tell her mother exactly what happened inside her bedroom, but when Carly told her that Shane had been touching her inappropriately, Sonia contacted Shane. She emailed him telling him that he was no longer welcome in their home and to leave her daughter alone. Shane responded by calling her all sorts of terrible things and threatening her. Sonia told him that everything he was saying amounted to defamation and that she would be contacting a lawyer, and then she cut communications. She also cut Carly's internet access to make sure that Shane could not get into contact with her again. But Carly was a teenager in love, and she and Brandon found a way to reach out to each other again. Just over a month after her 15th birthday, Carly told her mother that she was going to spend the night at a friend's house for a sleepover. She kissed her mother goodbye, told her that she loved her, and went on her way. But when she didn't come back the next morning, Sonia immediately contacted the police, who went out searching for her. But by that point, it was already too late. Carly was found floating face down in the sea at a nearby beach, and all attempts to resuscitate her failed. She had a total of 19 injuries to her body, almost half of those to her head. Carly had been beaten, strangled, suffocated, and drowned. It only took the police 11 days to make an arrest in the case. They charged a man named Gary Newman for Carly's murder. But hey, what about Shane Kane? It's the same guy, just a different name. When the police busted into his home to arrest him, he was actually at that moment online talking to another girl, a 14-year-old girl, and using his alias Brandon Kane. They found a notebook in his house with over 200 aliases written down, along with profile information and passwords that he was using to talk to underage girls, not just in Australia, but all over the world. And about that webcam footage that he'd used with Carly, it was actually a video loop of someone else that he would use to trick girls into thinking that that person that they were talking to was him. In court, he tried to make a plea deal with the prosecution for manslaughter, but the prosecution didn't bite. They had all of his online activity, plus they had surveillance footage of Carly with two men from that night, one of which would be identified as Gary's adopted son, who was also still a minor at the time, and would eventually be cleared of any charges, even though he had been a direct witness to Carly's murder. Gary Newman was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 29 years. But this case would go on to make Australian history. It was actually the first recorded incident in Australia of a predator using the internet to get access to underage children, and it was a case that changed Australian law. Carly's mother, Sonia, worked tirelessly to get a law passed that allowed the police to arrest adults using online platforms to get children before they've actually acted on their intentions. All the police needed to find was evidence of catfishing a minor and to prove that these online predators have solid plans to meet with these children in real life, and they can move in and arrest these perpetrators before any crime has been committed. The law has already no doubt saved lives since then, but Sonia didn't stop there. She created the Carly Ryan Foundation that works to protect children online and provide both them and families with better awareness of the dangers of online chat rooms and social media. Sonia argues that our children are at more risk now than ever before, and that the concept of stranger danger is not something that applies to being just outside the house anymore. With access to internet and devices like smartphones, online predators have a way to get to children even inside their own bedrooms. And the Carly Ryan Foundation has made it its mission to combat that. They've created an app called Thread, which allows parents to have better control over their children's internet access, and they also run seminars and talks to help educate families on how to use the internet safely. Her work has gone on to earn her several awards, one just as recently as 2021, and in an interview with Australia Women's Weekly, Sonia said that she just wishes that she could travel between worlds to tell Carly about the legacy that her life has created. She said that the love that she still has for her daughter has gone on to create a national campaign to stop other children from suffering just like her daughter did. And if you'd like to read more about Carly and her story, or even find out about what you can do to help stop other families from experiencing the same thing, you can go to Carly Ryan's Foundation website. I'll put the link in the show notes of this episode, but it's carlyryanfoundation.com. That's today's 10-minute murder for today. Brief and bingeable true crime. And a portion of that was the actual story, and the last part of it, simply information to give to you, which to me, being a parent, is invaluable. All the information I can gather up about things to help protect my child, I know I want to hear about it, and I just assume that you would too. So that's why that is included there. Thanks for checking out the show today. If you are new, like I mentioned at the beginning, be sure that before you go, you hit subscribe wherever you're listening, and that helps you find the show easier. It gives you access to all of the past episodes. There are over 200 of them that you can listen to. Also connect with 10 Minute Murder on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Links for that are in the show notes of this episode, or just as easily, you can type 10 Minute Murder into the search bar in any of those places and it'll pop right up. And lastly, if you know anyone, friends, family, coworker, anybody like that you think that they could be into brief true crime stories like the one you heard today, please be sure to let them know about 10 Minute Murder. Thanks for listening. Be safe and make good choices.